So welcome everyone. I know I'm standing in between the lunch and the last talk, but I'll be very quick because it's a 5-minute lightning talk. I was originally supposed to be presenting this talk at Open Source Summit Europe, but unfortunately I couldn't make it, so I'm presenting it here in Detroit. So really excited for it. So as you can see, the title is MLOps with Spinnaker. So you'll see how you can leverage the use of a continuous delivery platform like Spinnaker in the entire MLOps tech stack. So really excited for presenting this. I'm Shivay. I'm a developer relations engineer at Meilisearch. It's a Rust-based search engine, and you can connect with me on my Twitter at howdevelop later on. And in case you have any questions, I'd love to catch up with you at lunch. But just to get started, right? So initially, let's probably take a look at this really expansive diagram, and don't worry, I'll be breaking this down into number of steps, but this kind of showcases the entire CI/CD pipelines in the MLOps life cycle. So just to kind of reiterate, what exactly is MLOps? It's machine learning plus DevOps, and if you take a look at any example of a very simple example of a machine learning lifecycle, you start with the training of your data, right? So first you get your data and you pre-process your data, then you start to train your data over an existing machine learning model, and finally once you're done with the training, you evaluate your model and you publish it. And then of course once you push it into production, it's really important to kind of monitor the health of your machine learning model, and that's where you'll find the usage of continuous integration and continuous deployment and in the entire machine learning MLOps tech stack. So let's kind of break this down into multiple steps. And the first step is automating your Jupyter notebooks. So as a data scientist, one of the great tools that you'll find is Jupyter notebooks. You can very easily visualize, break down your machine learning operations into various steps. And it's a really great tool. But where it lacks is that once you want to actually go ahead and deploy this, right? As a machine learning engineer, you also want to go ahead and productionize your machine learning model, but it's not directly possible with the help of these Jupyter notebooks, which are a great tool. But in order to do that, what we can do is that we can take your notebooks and you can productionize them by containerizing them with a tool like Docker. So that's the first step. That as a data scientist, you write your entire ML code and you go ahead and containerize it with the help of Docker. Now the next step is that you want to basically create a machine learning pipeline. So an ML pipeline can be defined as a number of steps that you can take to basically process your entire end-to-end machine learning workflows, right from getting your data to getting your production results. So there are multiple ways in which you can run your ML pipelines. So there are tools like Kubeflow, Flight, and even Selden. So I mean, there are a number of ways you can do that. But for example, we'll take Kubeflow, which is a very popular open source tool, and you can use the Kubeflow pipelines to have your entire machine learning tech stack be defined with each and every individual step as a separate component within this pipeline. Now, this is where we'll start to integrate our CI/CD. So for continuous integration, you can use a tool like Jenkins, which is also part of the entire CDF foundation, and you can run tests and on multiple aspects. So whether it's you're having a specific pipeline for just training your data, you're having a specific pipeline for, let's say, running tests on the actual evaluation of your machine learning model. And when it comes to actually going and deploying your model, that's where Spinnaker basically comes into the picture. That what you're doing is that once you have developed the actual pipeline, you need to trigger the deployment process as well. So once, let's say, you have triggered the training of your model and you have tested the model and it works well, you have to go ahead and deploy it. So that's where you can do that with the help of Spinnaker. And it also comes with some additional benefits of rollbacks. So if you're having multiple deployments and you want to roll back to one of your existing deployments, you can use Spinnaker, and it the Spinnaker UI lets you do that very easily. And so you can manage your deployments, and you can also schedule your deployments as well based on certain events or based on, let's say, a cron job that you might want to run every week, right? So an example of that could be that you're collecting your data at the end of every week. It could be like, let's say, historical data, and you're retraining your model from time to time. So you can do all of that and manage that with the help of Spinnaker. And of course, this is what it would look like, the pipeline. So at the right at the leftmost corner, you have the configuration. So this is where you're defining the YAML file, which describes the entire machine learning pipeline. So over here, you'll define what's your pod, containers, and the type of machine learning model that you're trying to train. And then you'll run some tests with the help of Jenkins, and then you'll actually run your machine learning pipeline. And then once, if the machine learning pipeline is successfully run, you can go ahead and deploy that with the help of Spinnaker. And if you take a look at in terms of like the model serving. So what exactly is model serving? Let's say whenever there are some changes that will need to take place inside of your model, and this is really prevalent when you're going ahead and making some changes to your model, and let's say it's into production, and based on some of the production data, there might be situations where there is some unexpected data that comes in and your model is not performing very well. So from time to time, as your model goes into production, you have to make some incremental changes in your model. So that's also something that you can do with the help of Spinnaker. So model delivery and model serving becomes very easy with the help of Spinnaker as well. And in the future, if you want to also monitor the health of your model, so get some telemetry data and how the model is performing, you can use tools like Prometheus, Grafana dashboards to kind of visualize how is your model performing, right? So kind of just to summarize, this is the entire visualization of how your entire tech stack would look like, right from the time when you start to get your initial data up to the point where you're introducing continuous integration with the help of Jenkins to kind of build and test your machine learning pipelines, and you're using continuous integration or continuous deployment with the help of Spinnaker. And that kind of wraps up my entire talk. But if you're interested to know more, because it was a 5-minute lightning talk, so if you're interested to know more, I'd love to hang around and answer your questions. Thank you so much.